Previously on Bullshit Artists.
Come on, Jethro Spivey? That ain't a name. That's a pen name.
Jethro Spivey was a fiction. Dennis created him first. Al just picked up the mantle and ran with it.
His name was Dennis K.
He and Al Russo were romantically involved.
Yeah, but how do you know that?
Because I was there. You weren't there. The Chipmunk Man was there.
Al never wrote a play in his life. He was strictly a poet. Al developed cancer in 1990.
He died in 1993.
May all your babies drown in a lake of fire.
That is him, yes. I know his mail came under Dennis K., but he always addressed me as Jethro Spivey. He moved in with a Barbara Switzer, or Switzer. Dennis was in the bar, and he's over in the corner crying, and I'm like, Dennis, what's wrong? And he's like, I think I might have gotten her pregnant.
Who? Barbara?
Yeah, Barbara. 1983. Name the lad Stephen Switzer. He was going to move out to Flagstaff with her. He was an arsehole, but he had made some strides. I mean, he wanted to be a part of the kid's life.
Well, Barbara died in the fire. He was never the same after that. He took the kid, and they went up to Utah right after the fire, after Barbara's death in 2003.
There's no one here by the name of Dennis, all right? As far as I'm concerned, all your children can burn in a lake of fire.
So, my quest to find the heretofore unseen author Jethro Spivey has taken me all across the country. I located two of the men responsible for his work, Mason Jergen and Al Russo. But the main culprit, the man who's responsible for all of Spivey's lauded plays, is a man named Dennis K., or a man who used to be named Dennis K. I'm not sure what he's calling himself now, but I've tracked him all across the country, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to Union City, New Jersey, to New York City, back to Baton Rouge, and to Flagstaff, Arizona. Back in episode 4, I made an audio recording of a telephone call I placed to someone who I have since come to believe is in fact Stephen Switzer, the son of Dennis K. He would now be 35 years old, and he is currently living in the small southwestern Utah town of Hurricane. Population, 14,000. I'm headed to this barren area of the country to hopefully speak with Stephen Switzer and find the whereabouts of his father, Dennis K., also known as Jethro Spivey. I'm Scott Gordon, and this is the Season 1 finale of Bullshit Artists. Okay, so we're out in front of the house that I hope Stephen Switzer lives in. I'm not going to give the address because the guy seemed really prone to litigation the last time I talked with him, but I'm hoping, I'm really nervous. I'm not going to be confrontational. I'm going to be very easy, and just hopefully I can get him to answer a few questions, but I'm not going to be very... Unknown number. Hello? Is this a joke? Seriously? You've got to be fucking kidding me. So, the person on the other end of that phone call, you probably guessed by now, none other than Jethro Spivey himself, also known as Dennis K., hiding in plain sight the whole time. In fact, literally hiding, I assume. He knew I was getting ready to approach Stephen's door, and he did not want me to involve his son, which I respected, so I did not knock on Stephen's door and instead set up an interview at a later date with Jethro himself, which you're about to hear. Now, you may have noticed that I was a little put off when I heard Jethro on the other end of the line, and it's because, how do I say this? Well, after searching for someone for as many months as I have, you expect something kind of extraordinary, maybe something slightly profound, an epiphany, if you will. And I got the complete opposite. The good news is that Jethro Spivey is not nearly as hateful as people have made him out to be. He's very personable and even funny. Maybe he's mellowed in his old age. Who can say? The bad news, if you can call it that, let's just say the disappointment, is because I'm just going to let you experience the Jethro Spivey effect as I did. You make your own decisions. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour, Jethro Spivey.
Hey, Scott, calling you back for the interview. That's right, Jethro Spivey is the Chipmunk Man. Woo, woo, woo! I'm excited. Are you excited?
Oh, definitely.
I'm excited.
Okay.
All right, let's light this candle. Woo! Let's do it. I am ready to break my silence. Ask me anything. Remember, there are no dumb questions, only dumb answers.
Okay.
I'm ready to go. Ready to break my silence. Let's do it. Let's get it on. Let's do the question thing.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Jesus. That's right. Jethro Spivey is the Chipmunk Man.
So I heard the podcast. It seems to be going pretty good. I've listened to all of it. I'm a big fan. I really appreciate you going through all the trouble. And some people have said some nice and not so nice things about me, but that's cool. I was not always the nicest guy in the world, so whatevs.
How did you hear about the podcast in the first place? I'm curious.
Well, Steven called me.
Oh.
Yeah, he said someone was calling him poking around, and he gave him the what for. I heard he was kind of mean to you.
Yeah, he was a little rude.
Yeah, he's not the nicest kid in the world. I mean, he's a man grown now, Scott. So what can you do? But yeah, apparently my old hate apple didn't fall far from the hate tree. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm working on him. He'll get there. All he needs is a good coach. Good chipmunk coach. Gonna coach the kid. Gonna teach him how to live. Gonna make him a good man. Gonna help him understand.
Please stop.
Oh,
Please
come
stop.
on, you never let me sing.
Right, because it sucks.
No, now that's cold-blooded. Scott, that is cold-blooded. Do you want this interview or not?
Oh.
Do you want this interview or not?
Yes, I want the interview.
Then start treating me right. Treat me right, Scott.
Okay.
That's what I want to hear. You be a good boy.
Okay. I do want to ask you, though, when did this chipmunk fascination start with you? Because I interviewed a lot of people who knew you, and none of them mentioned this aspect of your personality.
Well, I call it chipmunk therapy. After Barbara died, I was in a very dark place. I didn't want to leave the house. I quit writing. I just didn't have any purpose, and Stephen was really worried about me. But then I found these old chipmunk CDs that were actually Stephen's when he was a child, and they just lit me up and started to make me happy again, which nothing did. I started to watch a lot of Cartoon Network, a lot of Looney Tunes, but the chipmunks were the thing I latched onto the most because their voices were so happy, and they sang together all these songs, and it was great, and I needed a way out. I don't know, have you ever had anyone close to you die?
Yeah, I have.
It's hard sometimes to find your way out of that, and this was just my road out. I'm not going to try to analyze it too much, but I like the chipmunks. So, I don't know whether that answers your question.
No, that makes sense to me, sure.
Okay, well, they're fun. I like them. So, next question.
Why Utah?
Well, I wanted to get Stephen away from Flagstaff. The memory of the fire was just too much. So Hurricane, Utah looked like a nice little town, but the main reason was there was a movie that I used to watch all the time with Barbara when we moved to Arizona called Raising Arizona with Nicolas Cage and Holly Hunter. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And there's a scene at the end where he has a dream talking about a place that they might be happy one day. And the last line of the movie is, I don't know, maybe it was Utah. And we always would say that. And we talked about maybe moving there one day just on a lark. So that's exactly what I did with Stephen. We moved to Utah because of a line spoken by Nicolas Cage at the end of Raising Arizona. Crazy, right?
No.
Oh, impulsive. Pretty impulsive, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Who else has done that? No one. Just me.
So, do you live with Stephen?
No, I do not live with Stephen. I have my own place. It's nearby, but it's a little more isolated.
Where is this place?
Bitch, I ain't gonna tell you where I live. You think I want a bunch of paparazzi and crazed fans coming after me? No, thank you. I like living on my own.
Oh my God.
I like living all alone. Yeah, living alone. That's where it's at. Dig it.
So, can you tell me a little bit about Al Russo?
Yeah.
Specifically, I want to start with how and when you guys met.
Oh, it was the summer of 1976, Scott. Sparks were flying, literally and metaphorically. I met him in the parking lot of a TG&Y. We were both smoking weed and watching fireworks, and, well, history was made that night, I don't mind saying it. Afternoon delight. Ooh! Yeah, Al was hot, baby. And, I heard about him. He had actually fed the balls of the vice principal to his dog, Gene.
His frog, Gene.
His frog, Gene. That's what I said.
Right.
And I just had to know this guy. He was as punk rock as the day is long. And we hit it off immediately and started getting it on in the back of my Chevrolet. It was like a fucking Don McLean song. Living it, Scott. We were living it. You weren't even alive back then.
Dude, I was born in 1970.
Well, you know what I mean. You weren't having sex in the back of the goddamn car.
Well, you're right about that.
Yeah.
So why'd you leave Al and move to New York?
Well, I didn't leave Al. We were just fucking over this summer, and I already had plans to move to New York. I was going to become a writer, which I did with a little help from Al.
Yeah, so Al follows you up
Yeah.
to New York like a year or two later,
Yep, followed me like a little bitch.
and he moves across the river in Union City. And then what happens?
Yeah, so one night at the Rotunda Club, you know all about this. I've been listening to your podcast. I know you know all about my dealings, my cocaine habit, and all that stuff. Yeah, you got your fingers dirty. I got my whole face dirty. Well, powdery. Yeah. So anyway, we were at the Rotunda Club, and I said, hey man, I need some help. Can you take this manuscript to some people and see if they'll publish it? And he was like, why me? And I was like, because you're prettier than me. And he did it. And the name I was using was...
Jethro Spivey.
That's right, Jethro Spivey. Pretty awesome stuff, yeah. And I published, well, you know the rest, right?
Yeah, but I was kind of hoping you could fill in the blanks for us.
Okay. I gave my first play to Al to take around to see if it could get published because I had a day job and he was better looking than me. He looked like a young Sal Mineo, so I figured they'd give this kid a break, and they did. Stan Roth published the first play for Junior Mint Press. I Fart, Therefore I Am, 1979, and things took off. But I had to send Al back a couple more times because they thought he was Jethro Spivey. So I had him sign a contract where I could publish remotely, where I wouldn't have to be in the building. And they were selling pretty good, so they did it. And I could publish wherever I wanted to. I could travel around the country like a little chipmunk hobo. And I could do whatever I wanted to do, and they couldn't tell me no. I thought that I
Okay,
could...
Jethro, stop.
Man, okay. Sorry.
So why did you leave Al? I mean, weren't you guys like a couple?
Yeah, I guess so. But he was spending a lot of time writing his poetry, which I liked, but he was using my pen name, Jethro Spivey. That kind of irked me. And you know who told him to use the pen name?
Mason.
That's right, Mason Jurgen. He was a fucker from the word go. I couldn't stand him. So, I left town. Besides, I was feeling the need to go home, back to Baton Rouge.
Because of family?
Nah, I didn't have any family there. But there was a bitchin' Dairy Queen that used to ladle the hot fudge on a hot fudge sundae. Oh, man, they would just pour that shit on there. I would just pour it down my mouth like just hot fudge bath. Not a euphemism. It was really hot fudge. Oh, man, now I want a hot fudge sundae. What do you say, Scott? Wanna go get a hot fudge sundae with me? Woo!
Not today.
Oh, maybe some other time then.
So, speaking of Baton Rouge, is it true that you stabbed a man in Baton Rouge in the 1970s?
Maybe so. Maybe no. I might have. But what if I told you, Scott, that he was looking at me funny?
Funny.
Yeah, like looking at me sideways like he knew something I didn't. Right. He deserved it. Plus, I was young and angry and always had my whittling pocket knife on me. So what was I supposed to do? Just sit by and take it? No, I stabbed him. Stabbed him in the eyeball. Or maybe the tummy. And yeah, that song by Queen was playing on the radio, and I think that influenced me.
What song by Queen?
You remember, we will stab you.
Oh,
Stab you.
what?
I'm kidding. Freddie Mercury was my boy. He'd never cut anybody. He was all about peace, love, and mustaches.
Did you ever know a guy in Baton Rouge by the name of Jimmy Ronsky?
Oh, I knew Jimmy. Jimmy Fucko. He was the inspiration for the character Jimmy Fucko.
Really? From your plays?
Right. I used that character in 4 of my plays. Based on him.
You know, he told me that, but I didn't believe him.
Well, why would you believe anything that Jimmy says? You know, I always thought he was kind of borderline retarded.
He also said that you used to tell the kids that you had a glass eye that could look around corners. Is that true?
No, that's not true. That's ridiculous. Glass eyes can't look around corners, Scott.
Well, I know glass eyes don't look around corners. I meant, did you tell them that?
yeah, I told him that. But these were little kids. They believed anything you told them. I told them that my mother was a witch and my father had killed a man in prison. I told them that President Ford was made of candy. And then I would sell them after school. I would sell them voodoo dolls that looked like their teachers. Yeah, for $5 a piece. And then I would take the money and buy a shit ton of beer. It was a glorious time. The mid-70s were great. Oh, take me back. Country roads, take me home to the play. You're gonna let me finish this one, Scott. You're gonna let me finish this song or the interview is over.
Fine.
I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads. It was Louisiana, not West Virginia, but you know what I mean. It's a good song, John Denver. It's good shit.
Apparently. Now, we talked about in 2003 why you quit writing, the death of Barbara. But in 1990, after you published your Ass trilogy of plays, you vanished for 5 years, and there's a lot of speculation as to what was going on during that time. What happened?
Well, in a nutshell, I heard that Al was sick, and I just couldn't bring myself to write anything, not with him in the hospital. I actually went and visited him a few times when he was in New Orleans.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he wasn't doing well at all, and it just rattled me so hard that I could not bring myself to write. But the last time I visited him, in '93, right before he passed, he told me, he said, "Dennis, don't quit. The world needs Jethro Spivey, and I'm not going to be here to give it to him." So I penned Worse for Wear and published it 2 years later in '95 and just kept going until Barbara died. Then I didn't have it in me. But Al was a good kid. He didn't deserve that, and he was always an inspiration to me. Well, him and the Chipmunks. Yeah!
So now you're living off the grid, right?
Yeah.
In presumably somewhere in Utah. We won't disclose where you're living. I don't even know.
As it should be.
Right. But there are fans like me who wanted to know what you've been up to, if you were living, if you were dead, if you were real, if you were fake. Is there anything in closing that you'd like to say to those fans?
Yes, Scott. I would like to close with a song.
Oh,
Dun,
man.
dun, dun, dun. I worked hard on this, so
Okay.
sing along if you want. Dun, 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 dun. Keep running hard, maybe one day you can win the race. But always try to keep a smile on your chipmunk face. Stick to your guns, but don't stick to any one plan. Never forget the lesson of the chipmunk man. The lesson of the chipmunk man. Ooh. Close out with a drum solo. Digga 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 digga.
That night I had a dream, and it seemed real. It seemed like us, and it seemed like, well, our home. If not Arizona, then a land not too far away, where all parents are strong and wise and capable, and all children are happy and beloved. I don't know. Maybe it was Utah.